Hello, good morning friends. Welcome back to your favorite channel Code One Digest. Today in this video we will learn how to create configuration server in Spring Boot. Yes friend, we will learn how can we set up and create the configuration server using a Spring Boot framework. You would have learned about external configuration design pattern. This pattern suggests to keep your configuration outside the code package so that we can change the behavior of application by updating the configuration to avoid the need of building the code again. Keeping the configuration outside gives us flexibility to update it and change the behavior of application as per business requirement. Hence, the configuration servers play a vital role where we can update the configuration for large number of application, large number of services. Especially in microservice architecture, where we have hundreds of services, it becomes very important to have a configuration server. Configuration server holds the configuration at a central location where we can change the configuration easily for all the instances of our services. So in this tutorial, I'll explain what is configuration server, how to create and set up configuration server in Spring Boot framework. I will teach you step by step with the Java code example how can you create configuration server in 10 minutes. Later, I will give you a demo of configuration server. By changing the configuration in central repository, we can update the behavior of an application. So stay tuned and watch this video till end. It is going to be very informative and very exciting tutorial for you.
There's no agenda here.
Friends, here is the agenda of this tutorial today. I will give you introduction of Spring Cloud and configuration server. I will show you how can you create the configuration server using a Spring Boot framework, what all libraries we have to use, what all dependencies we have to use, and what all annotations we have to use to create configuration server. Then we'll understand briefly what is service discovery pattern. Then I'll cover the architecture diagram where I'll explain how the config server work. I will explain you the working of configuration server with an architecture diagram. Then I'll show you a code implementation of configuration server step by step. You can follow me and then we can create a configuration server from scratch. At the end, we will test the configuration server. By changing the configuration, we are changing the behavior of our application. We'll validate that and then I'll summarize the tutorial at the end. Right friends? So stay with me. It is going to be very exciting and informative video for you guys. Friends, before we proceed in this video, I request you to subscribe this channel to grow Code One Digest family. Friends, I am creating a lot of quality videos on programming, coding concepts, design pattern and design principles, cloud and container technologies, but I'm not getting subscribers. I request you to like, share and subscribe this channel so that I can grow our Code One Digest family. Thank you. Okay, friends. So before we jump to a coding to create a configuration server, let's understand what is configuration server all about. A Spring Cloud configuration server provides an HTTP resource-based API for external configuration. Mostly, it stores the name value pairs or YAML content. Spring Cloud Config provides server-side and client-side support for externalized configuration in a distributed system. With the config server, you have a central place to manage external properties of our application across all environments. Spring Cloud Configuration Server is based on open source Spring Cloud Config project, which provides central repository for the configuration. Config Server helps in managing the external configuration for distributed application across all environments. We can create config server using Spring Boot application by using the @enable config server annotation. This is very important. This annotation tells the Spring application that is going to act as a configuration server.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Let us understand what is Spring Cloud. Spring Cloud is a Spring module that provides the rapid application development features to build cloud applications. Spring Cloud is a framework for building robust cloud applications. The framework facilitates the development of applications by providing the solution to many of the common problems faced when moving to a distributed environment. Spring Cloud is a configuration server technology. Spring Boot is a Java-based framework to build web application, and Spring Boot and Spring Cloud are the part of Spring framework. Remember, Spring Cloud is just a set of tools or software that is commonly used in the cloud, but AWS provide you the cloud infrastructure where you can deploy your applications. Okay, friends, so as we are talking about configuration server, Spring Cloud, so let's touch upon service discovery pattern as well. What is service discovery? Service discovery is a database containing the network location of all the service instances. The popular example of service discovery is AWS Elastic Load Balancer. The client makes a request through the ELB using its DNS name. The ELB is used to balance the load of external traffic from the internet as well as internal traffic directed to the virtual private cloud.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Good plan. Good talk, all right?
Okay, friends, so now let's understand the configuration server with an architecture diagram. So if you see here, this blue box is a configuration server where all the configurations are stored for all the services. This is a central repository where we are storing the configuration for all our application like a key value pair. Okay, friends. So this is our configuration repository or configuration server, which is accessible through a HTTP protocol. Now, this box is a service discovery server, or we can call it service registry. That means whatever microservices we have in an environment, all those services get registered here so that the consumer of those APIs, the consumer of those microservices can easily find IP address and port of microservices from this service registry. And this is our application which uses the configuration from our central repository. And this is a user of our application. So when we start the application, it registers itself with a service discovery, service registry. And then it reads the configuration from a config server, and the behavior of the application is according to the configuration stored in this configuration server. Later, as a part of testing, we will be updating the configuration in this configuration server and see the behavior of application is also changing. We are using Git repository to save our configuration. This configuration server is reading the file from a Git repository, and as a part of testing, we will be updating the configuration in a Git repository. Imagine you have 100 instances of microservices running. You cannot change the configuration manually for all those microservices. Hence, that time, this kind of configuration servers are really helpful. You change the configuration at one place, and through a configuration server, it get applied to all the microservices automatically. You may just have to restart those services one by one in round robin fashion. So in our testing also, we'll update the configuration here in this server, and we'll just restart our application, and we'll validate that the behavior of application has changed.
What the hell are you talking about?
Okay, friends. So now let me show you the coding implementation of configuration server. If you see, I have a bunch of application written in this whole module, and I'll explain you the three main application from this module. One is service discovery, second is our configuration server, and third is our business application. So I'm going to give you a demo of these three. And friends, all of this code is available in my Git repository, so you can download this module and play with it. Okay, let me show you a Git repository quickly so that you can download the code and access it. So this is name of my repository, Eureka service discovery and config server demo. You can also go through a readme file which says how to build this demo. You can use the mvn package command to build all this application. Let me explain you first these modules, then we'll go through these steps. So if we see this service discovery module, in this module we have pom.xml. These are all Maven based project. So we have defined what is my Java version, and I have a dependency of actuator I'm using to see the health of my Spring application and my config server. For service discovery, I'm using this Netflix Eureka server. Let me show you the Java code here. I have only one single discovery server application class, main class, where I have a Spring Boot application annotation and enable Eureka server annotation. So with these annotations, we are telling Spring that please make this application as a service discovery application, service registry application. And if we see the configuration of this application, it's a bootstrap YAML file where I'm saying my service discovery server will run on 8001 port, and the name of the service discovery is discovery-server. These are some configuration of my Eureka server, like time interval 3000, caching interval, and so on. And this is the URL of my service discovery, localhost 8001 Eureka. So, okay friends, now let me show you the config server. Similar way, I have created a configuration server where I have a pom.xml. In pom.xml, this is the Spring version information. This is Java version information. And I'm using the actuator again here to know what is happening in my application, to know the health of my Spring Boot application. Then I'm using this dependency Spring Cloud Config Server. This dependency tells the Spring application that please make this application as a configuration server. Then I'm making this application as a service discovery client. It will get registered on the service registry. And once we go to classes, so we have config server application main class where I have a Spring Boot application annotation, enable configuration server annotation. This annotation tells that make this application as a configuration server. And also we are saying that enable discovery client. Using this annotation, it gets auto registered with the remote discovery server. Hence, we are saying that use this annotation to get the config server registered with a service discovery, with a service registry. Right, friends? Let's see the configuration file. So here we are saying that our configuration server will run on 8101 port. This is the port of our configuration server. We are naming this server as a config server. Then we are saying that where are we storing all our configuration? We are storing our configuration in this Git repository. At this location, I can open this and show you what is this location all about. So if you see in this repository in Code One Digest, I am having the configuration file for all the application. Like I have a configuration file for my business application. Then for other application also I have configuration file like admin application, monitor application, but that we are not using as a part of this demo. I'll be using only the business application.yaml. Let me open and show you what all configuration we have here. So here in this business application YAML file, we have a configuration related to business application. I'll cover that when we discuss the business module after this. Right? Coming back to IntelliJ, so this is the location of our file or where all the files are located for the application. So when the business application comes, it requests the configuration to the config server. So config server redirects it to at this location. Finally, it will land in this Git repository where it will find the configuration file with its name. So this is the name of application and it knows that I have to read this configuration. So config server will route all the requests for configuration to this location, and those application will read respective configuration file from this location, right? And here we are saying that please register this configuration server with a remote service registry that is running on this URL. Let's see the business application, how it interacts with service discovery and configuration server. Let me close this all. So for business application, again, I have a pom.xml. In pom.xml, I have the Spring version, then I have a Java version, then I have actuator to see the internal health of a Spring Boot application. Then I'm using JPA to talk to my S2 database. And again, Netflix Eureka client so that it can register with the service registry and know the location of other services, required services. And I'm using H2 database, in-memory database for this demo. Let me show you the Java code that I have. So I have a couple of classes here like main class, business application, where I'm saying this is a Spring Boot application, enable discovery client. It also implementing the circuit breaker, but this is not part of this demo. Okay friends, so this is my main class. Then I have written a controller, REST controller, where I have defined a few endpoints like companies. So it will give me the list of all companies and the name. So it will give me the companies by this particular name. And I have a post endpoint to add a company. Then this controller layer calls this business layer class. And in this business layer, I have defined those method get company to get all the companies. This method is to get a company by name. And this method is to add a company. So if you see all these methods are interacting with this repository module. So let's see this repository class. Company repository is the interface. It's extending the CRUD repository and it is working on a domain object company. We'll see the domain object company as well, but let's see what all operations we have defined. So we have defined 3 operations here in this repository. Find all to get the list of all companies, find by name to get the company by name, and save company to add company to save company into repository. Let's see our domain object class. So this is our domain object. This is the entity class where I have a company object. Here I have this is a primary key, ID is a primary key, and name of a company. Then the Twitter username of that company. Let's say the company having a Twitter username. So this is another attribute of that company. And these are the getter setter of this. Now interesting thing here is to test the configuration server, what I have done is I have added certain logic here in add company method. When I want to save a new company, I have added a logic here that if the company name, if the company name, if the name of a company which is provided by a user is greater than our configured value, then will not add that company. We are checking the name of company against the configuration value. This value is coming from a configuration. If you see this value, we are reading it in a service class. This value, this is configuration value. This is coming from a configuration. And the configuration parameter is biz.application.name.limit. This attribute we have defined in a configuration class. So we are saying that we will configure this value and will restrict the name of a company up to a certain number of characters. Let's say initially we'll start this application business application with the configuration of 10 characters. We will allow a company name up to 10 character. Later, as we are reading this configuration from a central repository from a configuration server, we will go and change the value of this attribute. We'll change the limit from 10 character to 20 character, and then we'll see that it is allowing to have a company name more than 10 character or not. And then we'll revert back that configuration and we'll retest again. So this is how we are going to test the configuration server. We'll change the value in a configuration server in our Git repository, and then we'll restart this business application and see that behavior is getting changed. Here in this resource file, we are seeing that this business application is running on 9001 port, 9001 port. Name of the application is business application. It is reading the configuration from this config server because this is the ID of a config server. This is the URL of service registry so that it can find the IP address and port of configuration server from this service registry, from this service discovery pattern. Right, friends? So now what I'll do is I'll build this application for you and we will test this application. Let me build. Okay, friends. So now let's build all these 3 applications and start this application one by one. So we'll follow this README document. You can also follow same way. Okay, so let me go to the folder location. So this is where all my applications are there under this location. Let me open a command prompt. Now what I'll do is I will run a mvn package. It will build all the applications which are there in this module for you. It is going to take some time, so just let it run. Yes, it's still running, taking long time because we have a lot of modules in this package. It is running the test cases. It's still running. Yeah, okay, now it's completed. If you see, all these modules have been built successfully. Right, friends? Right, friends? Now, first, we'll run the service discovery server. Okay, every server and Java minus jar target. This will start my service discovery server. Let me start this first. Starting the service registry server, service discovery server. Yes. So now if you see service registry server is started on this URL localhost 8001 Eureka. It is listing at this port. Right, friends? Now what we'll do is we'll start our configuration server. Let me start another command prompt. cd config server java minus jar target. Our target folder having a jar build in our previous command. Now I'm starting a config server. It will also get registered with the registry, our service discovery server. So starting it on 8101 port. So it's starting all the configuration server functionalities and it is getting registered on a Eureka server. So it says response is 200. That means it is getting the response from service registry. If you see, it says registered instance config server. Right, friends? Our config server has sent a request to service registry server and it got it registered successfully. And if we see here, our config server is also up and running. It says started config server application in 22 seconds and it's running on 8101 port. Now what we'll do is I'll start the business application. Let me start the business application. cd business application java minus jar target. Yeah, so this will start the business application. So first it will go to config server to know the location of our configuration file. Fetching the config server at this desktop. This is my local host and at this port. So it found the location of configuration that it is a git code1digest var in microservice demo config and reading the biz application.yaml file. If you see here, I'll show you that. Let it start first. Yeah, so it says application started in 44 seconds. Now let me show you from the beginning. So very first line it says fetching the config from server this. So this is our configuration server. It got to know that there is a config server running on this local host and 8101 port from the configuration file. Now from the config server it got the location of where the configuration are stored actually. So it is stored in this git repository code1digest and this is the name of the repository .git and this is the file name business application.yaml file. If you see, this is the business application.yaml file. It is reading this file and now based on this configuration file it is starting the application, the behavior of the application as per this configuration file. So it got the information about h2 database and starting the h2 database. Let me again show you the configuration file. So this is our config repository and reading this configuration file. In this configuration file, we have the data source configuration where I've given the S2 database and I told you that of my business application having a company name limit up to 10 character. So right now it will allow, the business application will allow company name only up to 10 character and we'll see that soon. It has resolved all the dependencies and here it says the application is ready and application is running on 9001 port and this is a discovery client because it got registered with service discovery. See here, I shown you that configuration server was registered. This instance, our business application also got registered here. And above, this is config server got registered with our service registry and here our business application got registered. Right, friends? Now I'll hit those endpoints what I have created in business application and see we'll do a get company and add company testing. Let me get all the company first and then we'll try to add a company and see if we can add the company name more than 10 character. Okay friends, so now I'm using the postman where I have created these endpoints to test my business application. So let me get all the endpoints. I'm calling this get endpoint on HTTP localhost 9001 companies. So I'm expecting it to give me all the companies available in database. So right now all these companies are already there because I was testing at a part of development. I was testing it. So I have created. Now what I'll do is I'll add a company with a name more than 10 character. So let's say config server demo 1. So obviously it is more than 10 character. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, it is more than 10 character and let me try to add this company, whether it is allowing me or not. If you remember, we have set this limit to 10 character in our configuration file. So it should not allow to add. Let me hit this. Yeah, so it says invalid input. Check the length of company name. Same is printed on the console also in the log file. Invalid length 17 of a company name. Right, friends? So now what I'll do is I'll reduce it to, let's say, demo 1 and Twitter name is also demo 1. If I change this to demo 1, let's see if it is adding that company now. Yes, so it's saying 200 response. That means okay. ID 7, name demo 1 and Twitter name is also demo 1. So that means the company is getting added. Okay, let me try to get all the companies and see if the demo 1 is showing up in the response as ID 7. Let's hit it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, so it is added to our repository. Now what I'll do is I'll go and change the configuration. Let me edit this and I'll make it 25 as a limit, right? Commit changes. So updating the business XML for demo. I'm committing this change. Yep. So it got saved now in my Git repository, right? And now what I'll do is I'll just start quickly my business application. Let me start the business application now. So it will again go to the configuration server and read the configuration file from a Git repository. In a Git repository file, it will find a new configuration with the name limit of 25 and my application behavior will change accordingly now, right? So it is reading it from Git repository. Yes, it is reading the biz application.yaml file. So it's starting the application almost there. Yes, now the application is started. What I'll do is now we'll hit the add company endpoint and we'll give a long company name now. Demo 2 long company name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yes. So it's a 20 length name and this is demo 2, right? So as per the configuration, now the limit is set to 25. So it should allow me this company name and we will see that ID should be incremented to 8. Let's see if it is adding the company. Yes, so the company got added with ID 8 and it is allowing me to have a long company name. Earlier it was limited to 10 character. Now it is accepting a 25 up to 25 character. So it is working. That means our configuration server is working fine. It is reading the configuration from that remote location. Right, friends? With me, you can try this demo yourself. you can go to this repository, what I shown you. So this is a repository where all my configuration file are there. I'll share the path of this, both of this repository. This is one repository where all the configuration files are there. And this is another repository, Eureka server discovery and config server demo, where all the modules are there. All the code is lying here. Okay friends, so if you like this demo, so give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, so do subscribe to our channel to grow Code One Digest family.
Really?
Right, friends? Okay friends, now let me summarize what we learned in this tutorial today. I gave you brief introduction of Spring Cloud, configuration server and service discovery pattern. We understood what is service discovery. Then I explained you the architecture diagram of configuration server, how it works. Then I explained you and gave you step-by-step coding implementation of configuration server using a Spring Boot module. Then I shown you the testing of configuration server for microservices. So friends, let me know if you have already used the configuration server in any of your project or seen a scenario where this configuration server can be very useful. Please provide your answer in the comment section of this video.
You're goddamn right.
Friends, if you like this video, so give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for the more interesting videos. Click on the bell icon for the latest video notifications and do not forget to share this video with all your friends and colleagues. This is very useful information for students, beginners and software engineers. I am putting a lot of efforts in creating these contents. So please help me growing the Code One Digest family. Please subscribe to Code One Digest channel for the latest programming and technology related videos. Thank you.